So as AI continues to evolve, what other improvements do you see like that would be able to help the construction industry?
I think you need we need to focus on the persona, the person, the profile of the person that's using it for our safety guys. What processes that they do or things that they need to do could benefit from it. And so it's a very individual look, not like just like pass out Copilot to everybody, pass out ChatGPT to everybody. We're really focused on, hey, this is what we've got. What are the things that you do that could maybe benefit from this, and really focus on that process. And rather than a shotgun approach, kind of more like a revolver approach. I am a Texan, so guns
Yeah.
coming somewhere. And so really kind of pinpoint and then help them do that and then move on to the next one. And so I think as AI continues to evolve, it's like seems to be this huge beast of a thing that everybody's trying to use. But I think we have to hone it down and figure out where it brings real value to the coworkers down there out in the field.
Hey guys, it's Karalynn and welcome back to the podcast. Today on Construction Legal Made Easy, we're going to talk about construction and technology with Jennifer Hohman. Hey Jennifer, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
So Jennifer oversees Baker Construction's information and technology team. In this role, she channels nearly 30 years of experience in global business operations, program management, and technology solutions towards executing Baker's strategic technology roadmap to create a competitive advantage for Baker and its clients. Prior to joining Baker in 2023, Jennifer worked for such technology and industrial giants as Halliburton, ConocoPhillips, Hewlett-Packard, and Seadrill. She has an exceptional talent for synchronizing business needs with organizational goals and objectives to accelerate productivity and growth. Most importantly, Jennifer is a woman of faith, a mother of 2 boys and 3 English Springer Spaniels, a technology influence, and a community leader. She devotes her time to numerous nonprofits in the fight against sex trafficking and serves on the board of Crime Stoppers of Houston. Wow, that's a lot.
There's a lot.
Woman. All right, so before we jump in, tell us all about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Oh, wow. A lot. Tell me about it myself. We could be here for 3 hours. And I know your listeners don't have that much time. So no, literally, I was long story short, I was supposed to be a dentist or a doctor, and that just wasn't going to happen. And to my father's dismay, I decided to dabble into technology. Back in the day, I'm pretty old, although I know I look 15. And so that led to just an amazing career in energy, oil and gas, basically learning how we serve the field with technology, learning how we manage vendors of technology, and literally, and a lot of that has to do with contracts, vendor relationships, how we negotiate. And so, did that, and then decided I had some ideas for some software, and went to work for Hewlett Packard. They entertained me, gave me some capital, and let me build my stuff. And then I decided I wanted to be married and be a mom and have children. And so I met this most amazing, hilarious man who had a 3-year-old. And I think I fell in love with the little one before I fell in love with the big one. And we had known each other in high school. And so then we got together. I decided I didn't want to travel with Hewlett Packard anymore. I was consulting, so it was all over the country, all over the world, actually. And then went back to Halliburton, and then moved my way over to ConocoPhillips, which is an operator, not a services company. And then over to large offshore drilling. My first CTO role was with Seadrill. That was an amazing experience, especially experiencing having a field out there that when we had to deal with COVID and the technology challenge, all of a sudden Teams and Zoom and everything becomes extremely important. Then I decided I thought I was going to try to retire and stay not working because my husband had retired, and that didn't work well. I failed miserably. If I failed at anything, it's failed at that. And then I kind of the first offer that came, I was like, yeah, I want a job. Come on. So when an executive recruiter reached out and said, hey, we know this company called Baker, and I'm like, oh, Baker Hughes, and like Hughes, Baker Concrete Construction. I'm like, Baker Concrete, what do they do? We could build big ass concrete structures. And I was like, really? Like, oh yeah, I never even thought about that. Like, when you don't know about something, like who makes spoons or who makes springs, you don't think about those people because you're not involved with them, right? And I came to talk to this team, and man, it's one of the largest companies I've ever, had access to that was still privately owned.
Yeah.
Gives a shit about their people. And so I was done with the Wall Street companies and the Fortune 100s. And so I was like, okay, this could be fun. I met the team, my peers, seemed super down to earth, super authentic, gritty. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And so after a year of failing retirement, now if I'd found Mahjong while I was retired, I probably wouldn't be working again. But now my passion is concrete structures and people. And then I have a really close second besides my children is Mahjong. So that's right.
That's awesome. So, you've been in all this industry. So what has surprised you about coming to construction and kind of what was different?
Yeah. It's interesting. There's been a new epiphany for me. And it was probably so self-evident, but I just didn't get it. Coming into construction, look, if you're a technologist, first of all, there's not a whole lot of CIO, not all companies, because they're so local and small, have CIOs and CTOs, right? Have someone in the C-suite that is focused on technology. And so what I've learned is when I put out technology, we have our technology already out there. And if it does not take away work from multiple steps, or create efficiency for these guys and make it, and it has to be easily understood. The user interface has to be easy. The user experience has to be in support of what they do. And with the goal of getting them to spend less time in that trailer, that Connex, and more time out with that crew who's building this structure. I did not know that. And so it is, I've shifted in the past 2.5 years, had to focus on some fundamental things to put some fixes in place. But now I'm focused on how do I put things out there or improve the things they already have that make it easier for them. And it's so logical. Like it makes so much sense. But sometimes we just go and buy applications that we know we need to have to do something, but we don't push back on the user interface and the user experience. Like, what the hell does that fucking button mean? That's not going to mean anything to a PE who's sitting there trying to quickly get through this timekeeping part, and he doesn't know what that button means, or if it's not logical on how to use that application. And so I'm kind of refocusing. In fact, I'm actually going to learn how to be a project engineer.
That's awesome.
I'm going for about 3 weeks out to the field in Virginia. Y'all watch out. What they did, the crew said, well, do you know how to make coffee? I'm like, dude, I don't know how to make coffee really well, but I'll learn if I need to. But I'm going out there for about 3 weeks and I'm going to be like, tell me what to do. And it's like undercover boss, but with hair and other parts, I can't really go undercover on a male, a largely male crew. But I can go learn. Just listen.
That's exciting because I'm sure that will help you in the technology that you develop.
Totally.
So what kind of things have you developed to make things easier since you've been there? I'm just curious.
Well, I haven't developed anything. Look, there's so many things that are off the shelf. So let's talk about that. There's so many applications that are off the shelf that know how to do these processes that we do, whether it's in shared services, which is like your corporate functions, or it's out in the field. We don't really develop much of anything. What we do develop is integrations, applications talking to applications and sharing data. And so I will tell you that one of the things that we're most proud of putting it out there is an application for timekeeping, right? We know there's a lot of time fraud in the world. We know that doing those paper timesheets as spreadsheets, all that is very manual. But we leverage an application called MobiClocks that uses facial recognition and geofencing. And we have a very strong relationship with them. So we're able to influence their roadmap, put things in there that we need. And so I would say our timekeeping piece has been very, very successful.
That's a huge part of any company, but I can only imagine what it is at a company your size, right?
That's right.
For small companies trying to, and construction, as you know, so late to the tech game, as you've probably seen.
I'm trying not to say that. I'm trying not to offend anybody. No. They know it. Okay. Let's just say it then. And so, I think that it's almost like this, although it's good though, I think it's a positive. Here's the deal. In other industries that I've been in, right, all these trends, all these companies, all these software companies say, you need to do this, you need to do that, ERP this, go to the cloud for this, SaaS this. And it's almost like the construction industry, like, missed some of the technology age. And so, like, we didn't have all that tons of shit where you have an application portfolio that's huge. now it's almost like we skipped some of it. So now guess what? When AI is coming, right? Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, I'm glad we didn't waste our money on that shit. I'm glad our margins, we made sure we kept our margins tight, our expenses low. We're very frugal. I'm glad we did that. And I can build up rather than build up from very few things that we have to the right things that we need, rather than having to come into a portfolio where I have to okay, there's 5 things to do that and 3 applications to do that. There's not a whole lot of leaning. They were pretty lean, so it's nice.
It's like you don't have to unteach anybody how to do anything because they never had it.
No, that's right. That's right.
Not getting paid on a job you already completed? Well, that's where we come in. At the Karalynn law firm, our lien and collection department helps you get paid fast and the right way. You did the work, you deserve to get paid. We help you take the right legal steps by filing liens and collecting the money that's owed. Contact us at 713-715-7334, or you can visit our website at www.thekaralynslawfirm.com.
So with adding all this technology, how does it help you manage risk at the scale that you're at?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. There's 2 parts of risk, right? That I think a leader needs to understand. Number 1 is the facts and the data that are very evident that you have to understand, right? It's in a contract, it's in your conversations, but also managing risk is a very gut thing too, right? It's a gut instinct. And so with the new technology that's coming out, basically being able to put bits of information inside of a tool, have it give you an overview of, hey, watch out for this, look for this. Wait, this doesn't match up with that section. Doing that kind of review, which is very systematic, along with very tightly partnered with, no matter what, you've got to read that whole damn contract. No matter what, you have to make sure you have a good submittal and RFI. Those things, you can't take the human out of that, because there's some gut instinct things of what we see that cannot be done by the new technology. And so to me, it's the stuff that's coming out right now is complementary of being just great builders, great managers of risk, and great leaders. And so I think it's a marry. I mean, it's exciting, but it's also cautionary. I think this next generation, we've got to be very careful to make sure they don't just depend on AI to do the work. We are seeing people we caution against it. We don't give everybody like ChatGPT or everything, or we're very specific about what we do with that. But when people are applying for jobs, they're having AI write their resume. I mean, how?
Yeah, I know.
So anyways.
Yeah, at least you should review what AI writes.
Review, edit, maybe have it give you some ideas, but I mean, if you sound like a robot, we're not going to hire a robot. So,
no, exactly.
But managing risk is that, right? Managing risk is having that hardcore fact, hardcore information that you can read about, and then that gut instinct of what to do about it. And so I think that's when managing risk, you've got to have both.
So what secrets have you learned when you're saying that people are resistant to the technology to actually make them adapt and use the technology that you've come up with or you've implemented at Baker?
When it's not easy. I'm telling you, whenever in this particular industry, what seems to happen is if you introduce something to them and it adds more work, right? And this is probably any industry, but when it adds more work and takes away from their time of getting back out there with that crew, then they will abandon it and they won't come back. It's hard. It's 10 times harder to get them to come back to something you introduce them to if you don't make sure that it's easy to do once it goes out of the gate. And whereas in other organizations or other industries, there's a strong kind of a corporate mandate, or in oil and gas, they told you to do something a certain way, you just did it. You know what I mean? There was a lot more dictatorship, a lot more of mandatory things. And in this industry, besides the standards we have to follow from a safety perspective and a quality perspective, doing some of these other things, there's not a strong mandate or dictate culture. And so what I have to do with technology is sell my ass off, really. But I have to sell a product that's easy to use, easy to work with, and decreases the amount of work they have to do. Makes it easier, makes it better.
So do you meet with them virtually? Do you go out to the field? What does that look like?
I do. In the past 2 months, I've been out to 17 jobs. And so that's been super enlightening, which is why I've actually written a field intelligence report to help me understand what I learned across all these different jobs. I'm going to be a PE. I reach out on Teams, which is not normally their mode of communication. They like to text and email. And so with our operations managers, sometimes I like float an idea. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. Hey, did you see this on LinkedIn? So yeah, it's finding creative ways to interact with them when they are super ass busy, because the number one job they have is to build a quality structure for our customers and to make sure they keep our people safe. And so it's hard to fit when you're that's the priority, and my agenda is like here. It's like this much of, I can't really compare to that priority.
So did they have things in place when you got there and you improved them, or did they have nothing? I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were there's lots of things that were already in place, and lots of things that we need to improve, not because they weren't doing it right. It's just because the interface or the way you use it
Was wrong.
causes more level of effort. And then we've introduced some new things, like in a sense of risk. We use document crunch for contract review. We're using, obviously, document crunch. We're using trunk tools, to make sure we're doing RFIs and submittals for projects well. Now, there's some projects where we can't use AI. And so there are a lot of, I would say 90% of our portfolio of technology was already here. And then about 10%, we've introduced some new things as new products come out.
Yeah, I met the founder of Document Crunch. I guess it was like 5 years ago when he started. His name was Josh.
Yeah, Josh. Yeah. Josh.
Back in the day.
He just got bought by Trimble. Yep.
Did he really? I didn't even know.
They did.
That was a very interesting product. And he was the first that I know that did that kind of thing. And now there's, tons of them trying to do the same thing.
That's right.
That's awesome. Because he came from legal in big construction projects. So good for him.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Kind of shift gears now to your leadership stuff and your experience. So what's one early career mistake that still influences how you lead today?
Wow. One early career thing that influences the way, it's not about, it's about how you treat people. I think, I'm a leader that, I sit and look at things from a high level perspective. I have to look at the whole enterprise. And very rarely do I dive and do the micro. Like I kind of try to stay at the macro level and have people surround me that are great leaders that do my different things in my organization. But I think for me, it's every interaction, although I may be strong worded or very direct, I'm a pretty direct person. And I cuss like a sailor because I come from the field.
Right into construction.
I mean, I come from the oil field. So if you think construction's rough, you should see that place. Or, being raised by roustabouts and rig hands is not an easy world for a young female. But it's about the way you make people feel, right? I used to say, there's that analogy that when you look at a tree, right, and you're the monkey that's down here on the bottom limb, all you look up is assholes. And so I don't want to ever be that person, right? When people look to my role or my look to ask me or interact with me on anything, I really want it to be a good experience. So if we may have a tough conversation, but let's laugh. And so I think in the very beginning, when building my career early on, I was extremely serious and I was kind of a bull, what they call a bull in a china closet. And it was just about the goal. And quickly I learned within the first couple of years, man, it's really about the experience, right? It's really about how people make us feel, how we make other people feel, and never walking away from interaction thinking, I just don't want to ever interact with her again. Like that would make me very sad, is if, somebody walks away from.
So, you mentioned a little bit earlier, but what do you think like how people are treated in a privately held company of this size compared to the publicly held companies
Oh my God. So different, which is probably I'll never go back to Fortune 500. Man, look, at the end of the day, when you have access to or are in a company founded by people like Dan Baker, it's just a different experience. Dan lives every day with the concern of his people and the people under his tutelage, and how we lead and how they're treated. And so to have that as the founding, and everybody says it, right? Everybody says, look, when they sent me the profile for this job, I had two things on there. It said fun, and I think it said honor. Like those are like two words that I'm like, you never see that in a profile, especially for an executive profile. You're like, oh, how many, this margin, this profit, blah blah blah. So when that came and it said fun, I'm like, sign me up. It was almost like I'm into that, right? And so that, I would say, yeah, it's just different. And the fact that we're not having to kiss the ass of Wall Street, we're not having to do these initiatives that may be good in thought but not good in practice. I love the privately held world. So it's definitely a drastic difference.
I know. So my new director of finance came from oil and gas, and she says the same thing all the time. Like, you actually care about people. Yeah. You just don't replace them when the numbers don't work.
I swear, this industry is what oil was 20 years ago. When I got into oil and gas, man, it was gritty. It was family oriented. Everybody felt like a brother, an uncle, a grandfather. There was, in a privately held world, you get a lot of nepotism. I like it to some extent most of the time. My boys work here.
Really?
100%. And I never expected, in the oil and gas world, I would have never had one of my children come and work with me. But here, it's amazing. I get to watch them grow up professionally. I get to, chastise them, but then I get to give them to the guys that know this work and can raise them in the way of being, not a wuss, it could be hardcore, can learn to be gritty. It's one of the only industries left where, just
still acceptable.
Whine. Yeah, don't whine. There's no whining. There's no whining in construction.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. So, and I didn't, how many employees does Baker have?
We have over 11,000 people now.
Yeah. And you're like all over the country, right?
All over the country, except don't do a little bit of the West Coast, but yes, all over the country. We're not global. I think it's nice. It's good to work for an American founded.
It's entirely too hard to do business over there.
I think everybody realizes that now, right?
Yeah.
It's good to be an American founded and American operated company. I have a lot of pride in my country, and so it's been a good, refreshing experience.
So as AI continues to evolve, what other improvements do you see like that would be able to help the construction industry?
I think we need to focus on the persona, the person, the profile of the person that's using it. For our safety guys, what processes that they do or things that they need to do could benefit from it. And so it's a very individual, not like just like pass out Copilot to everybody, pass out chat GPT to everybody. We're really focused on, hey, this is what we've got. What are the things that you do that could maybe benefit from this? And really focus on that process. And rather than a shotgun approach, kind of more like a revolver approach. I am a Texan, so guns coming somewhere. And so really kind of pinpoint and then help them do that and then move on to the next one. And so I think as AI continues to evolve, it's like seems to be this huge beast of a thing that everybody's trying to use. But I think we have to hone it down and figure out where it brings real value to the coworkers down there out in the field.
So in a larger idea here, like AI and construction with contracts and all that, how do you think it helps reduce disputes?
Well, I think it makes you look at the facts, but trust but validate. So I think when you have, we use trunk tools and we point it to our project content, and like I have the worst memory ever. And so I can't imagine being out there and having to deal with a dispute, but making sure you have all the facts and not just make shit up. When you come to a dispute, you really need that hardcore data. And so if it can help pinpoint, or not even pinpoint, but direct me to where I need to find the facts in which I was supposed to be operating on, and then have that inform me with, oh, and this document, this is what our contract says, or this is what we said in that RFI when we asked about it. I think that's extremely important. It's able to get to the fact faster. You got to validate. I mean, it's not a fact until you validate it that that's accurate, right? We do know that AI, like if you have, so for example, there was one time we're looking at a document, had nothing to do with a specific contract, but it had an example in there. It's like, hey, this is an example. And it was like a little snippet, like an image. Well, when we had asked it questions, it pointed to that as being a fact or a piece of information. We're like, oh, no, that was an example. Like, that's not the real data that has to do with the situation. So you have to do it. You have to really teach, trust, but validate.
I agree.
In this with disputes. And so with everything really. And so that's where I think it just helps us get to where the answer is faster, to be dealing on fact rather than assumptions and bullshit. And when you're dealing in a dispute, gut instinct isn't the only thing you need to be working on. You've got to have your facts right.
Absolutely. And I do think it does a pretty good job. Like, contractors that aren't Baker size have a hard time understanding what they're signing in contracts. And so, just, at least knowing the risk before you sign the contract.
And what you sign up for, right? And sometimes there's just so much. I mean, we have such big jobs. We have contract documents like this big, right? I mean, we still have to read it. Some of us, one of us has to make sure we've all read the parts we need to. But man, then being able to, like, what did I read? I know I don't even know what section it's in, but being able to go and refer back to it quickly and have the AI reference it is.
Well, I'm hoping the AI can help draft better contracts that people can actually understand, and they don't have to be 500 pages because they say the same thing over and over in different ways.
True. True. That's right.
But
we got to train our GCs on that one, though. Let's get the agreement on that one.
That is a big point of contention for me, just because, I think like subcontractors, probably at your level, you have a lot of room to negotiate, but they got that way because GCs had lawyers draft their contracts and the guys out there doing the work didn't have lawyers, so they just signed them. And now this is all standard. Termination for convenience, pay when paid clause. It's just what we have to deal with.
Right. Now, I love a good termination for convenience on my software contract, so let's not get anything.
Make it mutual.
That's right. I agree.
Not just one-sided. Exactly.
That's right.
It's not like when I decide, like, maybe I don't want to take this job, then I get it out. Then I get it out too.
That's right.
So, what's one simple technology that every contractor should add that could add to their business to make it easier?
I mean, I think right now the large language models. I think it's super easy. It's, you can put it behind your own, like kind of a demarcate it from the rest of the world, meaning we have an instance of a large language model that's standard out there, ChatGPT, and it's behind a single sign-on. So anything we put into that model is not going out to the ether or the internet. And so, everybody's like, oh, AI is going to get all your information. Well, not when you demarcate it properly, have the right security controls in place. I think that's one of the easiest things you can do at this point. When you look at other implementations of other pieces of technology, obviously it's a little bit harder, because there's real business process you have to look at before doing an implementation or bringing something in. So AI right now is kind of the easiest one.
I agree.
Good agentic large language model.
I agree. I mean, help me draft this email because here's what I want to say, but say it better. That's right. So
don't make it sound like you're an AI bot or something. I mean, put a little personality into it. Make it like an exclamation point every once in a while and change some, make it sound personable.
Make me sound warm and fuzzy.
That's right.
So where do you see construction and technology like 5 years from now? What do you think will change?
Oh, yeah. I wish I could say that. I really don't know. I mean, I'm not one to ever say like I have a 5-year or 3-year, 5-year plan. I kind of take it year two by year two and listen to my business. So I would say that you're going to see more AI startups come up. You're going to need to be very specific in what you choose. And the biggest thing is when you're choosing these startups is making sure you understand the team behind it, because the success or failure of a software startup company is really the team, the expertise, the subject matter experts behind that technology. And so I think they're going to keep piling on, especially with this administration and what's happening in the world of chip plants and water, and I mean, all these, they're building. We are the, build part of our country has come back. And so just keeping up with the amount of projects we have is going to be really hard. And the way we're going to be able to do that is by getting more efficient at the way we do things. So getting away from those paper processes with the things that we should turn into digital workflows, but staying with some paper things that we just know we need that kinesthetic piece of paper to deal with while we're out on these jobs in regards to safety and quality. So it's going to be, I think you're going to continue to have a flood of these small startups in this industry. We're going to have to be very judicious about what we do. And I think we need to collaborate more. And maybe I'm just not tapped into the world of all the other technologists in this industry. I try to, but I think we're going to have to collaborate more and demand of these large software companies that we use to build functionality and user interfaces and user experiences that are meant for our people and how they operate.
Do you think, or do you see like the next generation coming back to the trades? Because there's really, as you know, a shortage in people wanting to work in the trade.
Look, both my boys, I have two biological and one kind of adopted. The one that's kind of my adopted child was my oldest son's best friend. He's the only one that has a college degree. my boys are like, fuck college. I mean, so, and my boys are both now in the trades, right? My oldest son is, out there in safety right now. And then my youngest is doing tech support for one of our large projects. And their friends keep wanting to come.
Really?
And they're hearing, oh my gosh, they're hearing about their experience. They're not having to sit in a white walled or orange walled office like me. These young men, especially young men, and there's a lot of good young women that want to be out there, outside, communicating, not behind a phone, not behind a computer. And yeah, I do feel like if we did our job well and explained how fun this industry can be and is, and of course I have my Don't Be an Asshole program, which is, there's a lot of times, especially in oil too, right, where you get down in the field, you get some not so nice people sometimes.
Yes.
And so I think if that generation grew up with the everybody's a winner mentality, so we've got to have a Mary, and believe me, I don't want a kid that thinks everybody should be a winner. I think you need to strive to succeed on your own, your merit. And I want a meritocracy. But I do think as we introduce to that generation what kind of the things you can build, the things you can get your hands on, you don't have to sit in an office all day and be behind a computer, and you can't interact and be social. I think we will see more kids go to the trades, but we got to sell it. We got to sell it on coming over. I think there's a huge opportunity for women here. We have a gut instinct in us. We have the way we see things is different than men. Mm-hmm. And I think there are some complementary things to this industry that women can offer.
Absolutely.
And building relationships is easier for us. I just think there's a lot of things that, man, when I see women out there in the field, I mean, they're just super happy. Like they love being out there.
Awesome.
And so yeah, I'm super excited. I think as Baker, we've continued to position ourselves of a place where we want to bring that generation into this workforce and get out there and build shit together.
That's awesome. And I think definitely women are a missing gap, and they're starting to catch up, but they're still so far behind.
But it's not actually what I learned. I mean, it takes a certain woman that wants to be out in this industry, right? I mean, believe me, I'm going to go get my ass out there for 3 weeks, and it's going to be hot as Hades.
Yes.
And I'm going to be like, get my ass back into the office. My hair is like poofed out. It's humidity, da da da. Like I'm a pretty tough girl, but I'm also, I got all my comforts too. And so I don't think that this industry has intentionally not let women in the industry. I just think it takes a certain kind of woman to be this gritty and this tough and get out there and get shit done without having to worry about our feelings and da da da.
Yeah.
I still don't think we need to be an asshole.
True. All right. Gosh, well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to add? I thought that was a great interview. Lots of information. Well, I know one other question I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
About your 2 other podcasts. I know they're not construction related, but tell me about them.
Oh my goodness. So my other podcast, one's called The Balanced Voice. I do it with the CEO of Crime Stoppers, Rania Mancarius. And Rania and I, we do a lot around how public safety. I have a passion around helping girls that have been exploited for sex or trafficked for sex. And so it's a pretty big podcast. It's super. I have to be a good girl. I can't. They bleep me out. Sometimes a bad word comes out. I have to be careful there. That's that one. I'm super proud of it. We have an amazing team that produces it for us. And then the other one I just started. It's called the Maj Salon. MAHJ Salon. I have become addicted to the game of mahjong, like so many women across the country right now, across the world. And so there's just some funny shit that happens in that industry. And it's super crazy when you get three other women around the table who are either empty nesters, never been married, bored out of their mind, their husbands, they're widows of golf or whatever. You get them around a table and start competing and maybe exchanging some coins. Man, there's some crazy shit that comes out of their mouth. So I'm just going to talk about it on a podcast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks again for taking the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I would say my last thing I would leave with your audience is Baker's always hiring. We're growing like an amazing tree. And I do believe we are the best place to work in this industry.
Where would they go to apply?
BakerConstruction.com.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.